Hi fairies! Welcome back to my channel. I am eca.fairy and in today's video we are looking at one of my passions, traveling. And today we are going to be approaching Rome as art lovers because I am one of them. The main reason that I'm making this video is, besides the fact that I'm a huge art lover and I want to share my really special experiences with you, it's also the fact that when you're looking through guides for visiting Rome, nobody really mentions that you can see these really big artist names in these specific museums. You have to do a little bit of digging, and especially if you have certain favorites. Like for example, if you love Dali, let's say, you wouldn't find it so easily where to see his artworks in Rome. So here my video comes to help you, because I'm listing all the art museums and galleries that I visited and what really important big artworks you can find in each of them. And we're going to start with Museo Boncompagni Ludovisi. I'm sorry if I'm butchering any pronunciation in this video. I took Italian classes, however it's been a few years since and I'm not so sure about it anymore. This museum really impressed me through its fashion pieces. This was a really unpopular spot. There was nobody in it. Literally we were the only ones visiting it, at least at that hour. However, I really think it's a must-see, especially if you love fashion. This is the only museum in Rome that we visited that focused on fashion, and some of the pieces were truly beautiful and they were integrated with, let's say, more classic types of art. For example, there was this really beautiful room with painted walls, painted ceiling, this huge painting, and this was decorated as kind of an art studio for painting on ceramics. There were a lot of really beautiful hand-painted plates and cups and they really impressed me. I usually love fancy dinnerware, but this was honestly on another level for me and I think it's a must-see. It evoked this really spring-like feel, and by the way, for students I think the entry was like €2 or something, so extremely cheap. The next destination is Galleria Doria Pamphilj. This one is more popular and we didn't have any book tickets for any of these two. Galleria Doria Pamphilj is exactly what it sounds like. It's a gallery. I encourage you, if you visit it, to read more about its history on the panels that are put in place, so I'm not going to spoil that information. However, you have to know that this is true masterpiece because all these immense beautiful hallways are decorated in these amazing paintings, and I'm not talking just any paintings. I'm talking Caravaggio, Tiziano, Raffaello, even saw a painting by Peter Bruegel II. However, there might be some paintings that we missed that I didn't mention, for example, because as I was telling you, all the walls are just covered in paintings, and I was really impressed to just see such well-known painters and their art mingling together, because I was just used to the classic museums in which every single painting just occupies its space on the wall, it's spaced out from everything. No, this was a truly different experience for me to just see so much amazing art on a single wall. And this gallery in itself is such an impressive place, with its structure, the way they decorated the rooms, paintings aside, I mean, the walls, the way the ceilings are painted, everything is put together, and the attention to detail really impressed me. And the attention to detail is the thing that I really noticed throughout other museums that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes.
As a bonus tip, make sure to also visit the secret apartment. Before you climb the stairs to the gallery, it should be on your left, and you will be able to see the signs and the entry, and this has a separate fee, but it's so worth seeing. The bathroom was simply spectacular. A dream, right?
If you're planning your visit before June the 2nd, you are in luck, because at Palazzo Bonaparte there is this special exhibition of Munch, and I'm talking so many paintings. It was truly breathtaking because a lot of them actually had the backstory printed out, a lot of insights into his life and the way his mental state, his early childhood trauma influenced every single painting, and a lot of really good explanations and interpretations of the painting, use of color and so on, that I found really useful. Of course, if you're familiar with his artwork, they are going to be pretty intuitive. To see so many pieces gathered together, this sort of exhibition is pretty rare in my experience. I was lucky that I got to see it. Of course, if you want to really digest every single painting that you're seeing, it's going to take more than a couple of hours. However, we were on the clock because we had tickets to another place, so we had to spend there about an hour. In this hour we managed to see every single piece, not read unfortunately every single explanation or interpretation or so on. We are going to be moving to the most breathtaking place that I've ever seen in my entire life, which is the Vatican Museum. And honestly, I didn't even know what to expect when choosing to visit the Vatican, because besides the Sistine Chapel, which was our main attraction at least, we were kind of in the not know about every single thing. And if you love art, this is a place that you shouldn't skip. The Vatican Museum is home to a painting by Da Vinci, St. Jerome in Wilderness, and this was just wow in my opinion, because I've never seen a painting by Da Vinci in real life. And what's even maybe more special about this is that it is an unfinished work. The sketch of the artist can still be seen in the places that he didn't manage to cover in paint. In December last year, I saw one painting by Caravaggio in real life in my home country, and I was just mind blown. I was even more mind blown when I saw how many Caravaggio paintings the Vatican has. In this museum you can also find artworks of Raphael, including the Stanze di Raphael, I think is called, which is basically a set of rooms that he was commissioned to paint, in which you can also see the very famous School of Athens painting. It's literally covering an entire huge wall. They were painted up to the smallest detail and everything just came to life. The ceilings, the walls, they are a definite must see, because it's like you're literally inside a painting at that point. Even for the people that visited the Vatican, I think this is not such popular knowledge, because most of the groups or people are just walking through the main rooms, and sometimes there are small rooms adjacent to the main hallway in which most people don't enter, and skipping those rooms is a huge mistake. In my opinion, it's one of the biggest mistakes that you can do when you visit the Vatican Museums, because those rooms literally have hidden gems. For example, Van Gogh's Pieta, and literally next to it there is a painting by Mondrian. I'm probably going to butcher the name, I'm sorry. It's the end in the Gain with poplars. In other smaller rooms, for example, we saw Chagall with his crucifix, and you can also see 3 Salvador Dali paintings: Landscape, Crucifixion, and the Trinity. Of course, you might be thinking that visiting all these extra rooms besides just the main walkway is going to really prolong your stay in the Vatican. Maybe you're tired or don't want to go the extra mile. However, I really feel like this is more significant if you do it this way, because you don't necessarily have to spend more time in these rooms. You just have to cut out of the time that you spend in the main ones. Another thing that impressed me in the Vatican and was truly unexpected, besides honestly the Dali paintings, there was also this room filled with huge Matisse paintings. There were these really colorful patterns that he did, and honestly I just love Matisse so much, and it was so unexpected for me to see his artworks in the Vatican, which is basically something that I used to associate with really just Renaissance paintings, and that was it. And was I wrong? Because it literally has everything for every taste, from statues, including the artworks of Bernini, to the super realist Dali, for example. So my main advice, especially for the Vatican, would be don't skip any room. And honestly, this applies to every single museum that I've mentioned, because I saw people that were visiting even without a group or a guide. I don't even think it's necessary for me to say how seeing the Sistine Chapel really changed my view on art in general, and it was truly a full circle moment for me, because I've dreamt of visiting it ever since I can remember, and I was truly emotional when seeing it. You aren't allowed to take pictures, and I really think you should respect that. I've seen people, like when I visited, people were sneakily taking pictures. If they were noticed, the guards would really like yell at them, because there is security inside. However, I just don't see the point of trying to sneak a picture personally, because nothing, and I mean nothing, no camera can actually capture the beauty and the awe that you feel when you actually see it live. Another mistake that I've seen some people make would be to only visit the Borghese gardens and skip Galleria Borghese. And why I'm saying that this is a mistake in my opinion, because if you're an art lover, you definitely have to make this stop. And I'm going to start with obviously what was the most impressive for everybody visiting it, including me. Not 1, not 2, but 6 Caravaggio paintings in one room. Imagine the energy, the literal buzz that you feel walking through that room. Paintings that I'm talking about are Sic Bacchus, David with the head of Goliath, Boy with a basket of fruit, Saint John the Baptist, Saint Jerome, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Madonna dalla Freneri. Every single room is just a masterpiece on its own. The walls, the ceilings are immensely beautiful. You can also see a lot of Bernini sculptures. He was compared to the Michelangelo of his time because of how fluid the movement and how realistic the movement of his sculpture is. He has 4 main sculptures commissioned by the Borghese family in this villa, but he also has other ones. Some of them he made on his own. Also, as a big Raffaello fan, I cannot help but mention that Galleria Borghese is also home to his masterpieces. For example, Lady with a Unicorn, which is a painting that I'm unhealthily obsessed with, and a truly impressive Deposition of Christ. And as a big Tiziano lover, I was happy to see some of his artworks in Galleria Borghese as well. For example, Sacred and Profane Love. You could say that this has a pretty main moment in the gallery, however, a lot of his other artworks are exhibited here and they are definitely worth seeing. Of course, I'm only focusing on the really big names, on the really big painters, because it would take me days to just enumerate every single beautiful artwork that you can see in these places. However, don't be fooled, this isn't just it. If you made it to Galleria Borghese, I advise you to just take a walk through its gardens after you visited it, because they are really pretty and it's a nice walk until you reach Galleria Nazionale d'Arte Moderna, which for us was a really unexpected stop. We weren't planning on visiting it because we thought we wouldn't have the time. However, fortunately we did, and I'm going to start by telling you the main moment, in my opinion, of this gallery, which is Klimt. This was special to me for 2 main reasons. It was the first Klimt that I was seeing in real life, and every single time I see one of these really big favorite painters of mine for the first time in the wild, so to say. So basically in a museum, not just in a book, there is just something that changes in my brain chemistry, and I am prone to remembering that moment forever, and that specific painting just remains more special to me because it was the first one that I saw by them. And the second reason that made this really special for me is that the painting that I'm talking about is the 3 Ages of the Woman, or the 3 Ages, and this is a painting that I have studied ever since I was in like 7th grade. So you can imagine how breathtaking it was to see it in real life, to not even expect to see it, because I knew we were going to see a Klimt painting, I just didn't know which one. And the really cool thing is that we didn't actually follow the chronological order of the rooms that we were supposed to take, I think. So we managed to see it up from afar and we had to walk down this corridor until we reached it. So I spotted it right when we entered the corridor and we had to go to its other end to actually approach the paintings. I don't think there is much written about it in the museum, so if you're going to visit, I definitely recommend maybe reading about it a little before or after to kind of familiarize yourself with the meanings and so on. Also, a few paintings that took me by surprise were one by Modigliani, which was Nudo Sdraiato. Then we also saw Edgar Degas, which I think the painting is called After the Path, but the name was only in Italian, so Dopo il Bagno. In this museum you can also see 2 Van Gogh paintings, one of them being The Gardener. And from this moment on, the museum really shifts to more modern art, as the name also says. And there is an accent on symbolism, futurism, paintings and artists that I wasn't personally familiar with, but I'm really glad I got to see them. For example, Gerardo Dottori wasn't a name that I got to study personally, but this museum is home to a lot of his artworks and they are really special. And for example, if you're a Jackson Pollock fan, you definitely want to visit this museum because they are displaying one of his paintings. A museum that isn't so popular that we actually visited the first day that we were there, however I was really just so excited to reach the Vatican that I kind of skipped over it, is the Capitoline Museum. As far as I know, it was Michelangelo that designed these buildings, and this was such a vast space space that we actually kind of got lost at some point because it was pretty late and there weren't many people visiting anymore. And if you are a Rubens lover or a Caravaggio lover, you definitely must visit this museum because they are displaying their artworks. As far as I know, 2 Caravaggio paintings. This is a tip that we got from a guide that I want to share with you, and this is one of the very few free ways in which you can see Caravaggio paintings. After our trip, which happened at the end of February, by the way, I think I forgot to mention that, I actually found out that there are more than 1 basilicas displaying Caravaggio paintings, but when we visited we only knew of one of them, and that is Basilica of San Maria del Popolo, which is located in Piazza del Popolo, and this is how it looks. You might have a bit of issue finding it, that's why I'm showing you how it looks, because there are 3 or 4 basilicas in the same piazza, as I was saying, and it was kind of confusing for us as well because we didn't register the name, like the right name, and all of the basilicas are called San Maria of something, and we entered each one trying to desperately find Caravaggio, and I think that we were the only ones doing that. However, we finally found it, and this was literally the last stop that we made before leaving for the airport, and we were lucky we made it because it was so late at that point, and I was just so ambitious and set on finding the 2 paintings because it's not every day that you get to see 2 paintings in a church just free of charge, and they are also Caravaggio. Of course, this isn't a tip for just art lovers, but for everybody visiting Rome in general to visit Basilica di San Pietro. However, you might be actually not so keen on visiting it, especially if you're not religious, but it is an architectural gem just like the Vatican, and it's also home to Michelangelo's Pieta. And if you're going to visit, I'm also going to give you like a bit of a tip because when we walked in we couldn't see it. The basilica is really huge. It wasn't just like the ones that we saw before, and we actually got a bit scared that it wasn't on display. We didn't know where to look for it because some people pointed out like it's supposed to be there. So as you enter the main gate, it's going to be on your right. However, if you're visiting in the jubilee year, which is now in 2025, you are actually able to walk through the holy doors of this basilica, and you have to walk through those doors to see the Pieta, because otherwise when you enter like the main doors, there is a curtain on your right that separates the main space that everybody can enter from the right side of the basilica where the Pieta is, and you have to queue up and then walk through, like exit the church, walk through the holy doors, and then the Pieta is going to be on your right. However, visiting it, like seeing it and walking through the holy doors is free of charge. We queued up, and in I think it was no more than 10 minutes we were able to enter. Even though the queue might look really big to you, the queue is happening inside the church, and then they take you along the curtain that I was telling you about. You exit the church, then enter, because it's the like you entered through here and then you have to enter through here, through the holy doors. The queue might seem big, as I was saying, and we got kind of scared because oh my god, we're not going to make it to the next stop in time because there are so many people here. But actually the space is really vast and it can accommodate a really big like queue of people at one point. If you're seeing this in 2025 and you're planning on visiting Rome and you have any other additional questions, do let me know down in the comment section and I will do my best to answer them as correct as I can, because even though I'm not a local, so obviously I don't have like the best and the most extensive experience on Rome, I do consider myself a pretty insightful tourist that actually takes a lot of really important milestones in traveling. And just a quick thing before we end this video, you can actually climb into the Tower of St. Peter's Basilica. I think it's about €5 to climb up there or something like that, like a very small fee. And you can also visit the downstairs museum. I think there's some sort of cellar museum. However, unfortunately we didn't have time to do any of these things. But for visiting the basilica in itself, I've seen that you can actually book guided tour. So if you don't want a guide, you just want to visit, that is for free. Queuing up to get inside the basilica, it was like 10 minutes at most. It was a huge crowd, but the line just went went through really fast. However, if you're interested in booking tickets, in seeing for which museums to book tickets for in advance and for which you would need a guided tour or not, and also really great places to eat, shop, or see Rome from above, all these things are going to be included in my future video, which is going to be a general outlook on my experience in Rome, telling you all the tips that I wish I would have heard before visiting. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope your art hunger is going to be satisfied by Rome, and I'll see you fairies next time. Bye!